Phil, so you've come out with 3 books. This 4th book called The Age of the Platform, how, I may not do it in the right order unless I look at it, but Apple, Google, Amazon, and Facebook have redefined how we do business.
Close enough.
How have they redefined how we do business?
They've really put forth an entirely new model, and that's the sort of book in one sentence. These companies have done absolutely amazing things in relatively short periods of time, Apple being the one exception. But before we go there, I want to have some fun first. Show of hands, who uses Amazon? Okay. Apple. Facebook. Google. Okay. Does anyone not use one of those 4 companies' products or services? Really?
I don't use Facebook.
No, but I'm saying, does anyone not use any of them?
Oh.
Okay, so these companies have become ubiquitous. And how have they done it? And that's what the book is about. Because you don't have to be a company with billions in revenue to build a platform. I'm a perfect example of it. I can tell a personal story for a moment, and this is actually in the book. 2008, I'm a technology consultant by way of background. I had my best year ever in a horrible economy. I was billable 51 weeks out of the year. I went from project to project. I juggled a bunch of ones concurrently. And I realized that it was very dangerous because all of my revenue came from one particular stream. So over the last 3 years, I diversified. I've written 4 books. I started a publishing company. I've done different types of consulting. I've built my own platform by adding different planks. And when I thought about that in the context of the 4 companies that I profiled, the Gang of 4, it was obvious to me that I was onto something big. Sorry?
The Gang of 4.
It's not my term. If you Google it, it'll probably come up as a rock band, but Eric Schmidt coined the phrase, a Gang of 4. And that was just easier. Fast Company, has anyone seen Fast Company this month? Right, the Fab Four, right, who's going to win in the tech war of 2012. So the Gang of 4 is really doing individually and collectively just some absolutely amazing things. And we can go down the list. But perfect example, and one that I cite quite a bit, is Amazon. And they're absolutely fascinating. If you think about what they've done since 1994 when Jeff Bezos founded an online bookstore, it's mind-boggling. He's a smart guy, but I'm pretty sure that he wasn't saying in 1994, and by 2011, my company's going to make $750 million selling excess cloud computing services, right, primarily to small businesses. But if you look at what they've done historically, they've really used the platform. They added these different planks. So when cloud computing became popular and in demand, they were there to pounce. And if you look at what a lot of companies have done, they've added these individual planks. And that's something that I defined early on in the book, a plank versus a platform. I'm a big fan of Bloomberg West with Emily Chang and Corey Johnson. And I swear there must be a buzzer on that show. Because every 5 minutes, someone just blurts out platform. And I feel like it's used inappropriately most of the time. So in the book, I sort of lay out this framework in which there are individual planks of a platform. So if you take a look at Google in 1998, I would argue it wasn't a platform. It was an incredibly useful and powerful search engine, right? Does anyone remember Alta Vista and Lycos and Yahoo? And you would search and go, what is this, right? So Google was an incredibly useful search engine, but it wasn't a platform. It has become a platform by adding the different planks. Gmail and Google Maps and Reader and News and Android and all these different things. So one of the things that I've had some pretty heated arguments with people about in a few interviews I've done since the book came out, it only came out last week, is whether or not a small business or a large one can learn from these massive companies with billions in revenue. And I say yes, because I've done it. So one of the other things that I think I want to talk about, and then I'll let Adrian speak, is that these 4 companies are really consumer-oriented. And I know Adrian's going to talk a bit about this. If you look, this notion of a technology platform isn't new, and I'm not saying that it is, right? Microsoft had built a platform, IBM. But these are all very consumer-oriented ones, and everyone knows about the consumerization of IT. It is a better place to be, I think, in the consumer space. In fact, it used to be, if you go back to the mid-90s, what I call Enterprise 1.0. The best technology was in the workforce. And now, not across the board, but invariably I will go into some of my consulting clients, and my iPhone trumps what these people are using to do their actual work, and it's scary. So if you look at what these companies have done, it's nothing less than fascinating. And I was unaware of a book that looked at the platform as a business model, and Adrian was so helpful in sort of being a sounding board and laying things out and helping me almost as sort of a secondary editor. And we agreed on a lot of things, but not on everything. And I think that this is my boldest, most ambitious book. People are either going to love it or going to hate it. It's not anodyne. This is not another social media book. It's about a different way of doing business. And you're either going to think I'm a genius or I'm an idiot. And I can live with that because I just think that the way that many companies have been doing business is not really tenable in the future. Next month, I'm speaking to 150 government folks in Washington, D.C. And the challenge will be, how do I not irritate them? Because if anyone in the room thinks that their way of doing business is going to remain the same, I think they're insane. You're not going to have the same budget. You're not going to have the same head count. So how can you thrive in this age of the platform? That was really what was driving my thinking. There are 4 companies out there that are just absolutely killing it. And if you look at what other companies are saying about them, Microsoft's a great example. Right? Does anyone sort of see the challenge or the potential inconsistency of a company that 10 years ago was trumpeting the values of the free market, right, when it was being sued for bundling, i.e. with Windows, is now wanting the government to sue because Google has monopoly in search, right? So, the AOLs and Yahoos and MySpaces of the world would love to have the problems of Facebook and Amazon and Apple and Google. So those are just some of the things that I talk about in the book. But again, this notion of a platform isn't new, but consumers are driving a lot of it. And with that, I'll turn it over to Adrian.